So this is the best way to do Scarlet Monastery, Cathedral plus arms. I'm gonna show like one pull where it's all in one pull, like a hard way, where you kind of need like good gear or at least some good practice. And then I'm gonna show the easy way to do it if you're new to this boosting or if you have bad gear. The only thing you really need is minor speed on boots and a PvP trinket. I don't use frost resist or fire resist. This is just like baseline boosting gear with some stamina and some intellect. That's pretty much all you're aiming for. And then you need the magic absorption for the mana refunds in these dungeons. And then basic AoE frost silence. So first off, let's show the hard way of doing this in one pull, where we pull the boss and everything with it. We start off by pulling the mobs down in the corridor here, Nova them here, and blink out. Now the goal is to open the door before the mobs gets too close. You can still open the door even though you pull them up here, but to be sure you can always walk on div path here, and then you won't pull them up. So here I reapply my shields and open the door. And you can see the mobs are coming after me here. So just run straight ahead and into the mobs here, Nova them out, and counterspell the boss. So now you pulled the entire dungeon basically. So what you want to do here is just pull everything on your way out. Reapply the shields and hug the wall. Here you see I got frostbolted because I don't have any frost resist. It's not a big deal, you just walk it off. You don't have to use your PvP trinkets on frostbolts. The best way to avoid frostbolts is by hugging the wall always and cutting corners. You see now I got frostbolted again. It's actually a little bit rare getting frostbolts in a row like this, but it happens, so you just walk it off. You don't have to use your PvP trinkets. You want to save the trinket for an actual slow, like there's a 30-second slow you want to save it for, if that ever happens. So here you just hug the wall again. And up here you can use the reset spot if you want a bandage or you want some extra mana or anything. And it's very important here that you blink straight ahead here, because then all the casters, they're not gonna hit you with all these frost bolts. Here I like to save my frost ward and ice barrier earlier, so it's ready when I come out of the block down here. I like to block on the stairs because you take less damage from the mobs when you get out of the block. You can like stack them tighter by blocking here or blocking up here, but you take way more damage doing that, so I prefer not doing it. As you see, you take a lot of damage if you don't have a lot of good gear. The mobs that resist, you just walk out and they will turn around and walk back. So here just jump back and forth, and if you're not trained at this, it's a little bit hard doing it with the boss chasing you as well. So I recommend only pulling the boss if you're like trained. You see I'm always facing here, so that the boss, if he stuns me, the boss stuns, that you can blink into the side to get out of the stun. Since and here just Nova them down. As you see, with bad gear, you get a little bit close to actually dying. Just keep reapplying shields. Keep trying to like survive all the mobs hitting you here, getting the boss away from you. And the casters here are you want to keep them alive to keep giving you mana. You see my mana is full, so I can keep using mana shields because of the casters here. So here when you're boosting, I normally play with group loot, so I tell my group to come loot for me, and I just need on the BOEs. But because we're in combat with the boss in the cathedral, the priest, you can't drink here, so you just walk straight into the next dungeon. And this is like the hard way to do it. And as you see, I haven't even used my PvP trinkets, because you don't need to use it on frostbolts, only the big slow, basically. So now I'm going to show how to do the same in arms in one pull. It's not really worth pulling Herod in arms, because you simply only get 4 extra mobs out of it. So if anyone want to pay for like an arms boss, you just pull the entire dungeon and then pull the boss after. You don't have to do a one pull with the boss here. Normally what you do is you kill these two if you have a group, so your group doesn't pull them, but since this is not with a group, you don't have to pull them. And we just sneak past through the entire dungeon. Try and keep your blink for the patrols. Like you see here, there's a patrol here. You can blink past so you don't pull him. To be safe, it's good to have your mana gems up here. And you don't need a PvP trinket here, so I just use an AoE trinket. I got through here to not pull a patrol. You can jump around these mobs up here and walk all the way to the end of the dungeon. Arms is often considered like the hard dungeon without gear, but it's mostly because of the mobs resisting. People are like getting screwed by mobs resisting. You counter this simply by novang, cold snapping, and then novang again out of your ice block at the end. And then you won't have a problem with resist at all. So here you just want the impacts. And through the entire dungeon, you just arcane explosions late. Nova here to freeze the mobs. This fella will give me some extra mana by resisting his spells. Pull everything, you blink. This is the last point where you can reapply your ice barrier, since if you reapply it later, it will be on cooldown for when you go into your block, and you don't want that to happen. Counterspell the fire pack here, and blink up the stairs. Cut corners all the way through, and here I like to mana gem to have full mana. Can pull this in here since we didn't pull it earlier. And here you blink to get out of all the mobs chasing you. And then you just ice block here in the middle, and all the mobs will come to you. So again, out of the block, it's good to Nova and then Nova again. So double Nova. You see I resisted one, but it's not a big deal since I double Nova. You reapply all your shields and you start blizzarding all the mobs. Sometimes a few mobs gets in front, but it's not a big deal. You just keep blizzarding. Here I like to blink to get them all stacked up. Jump to get bigger range. And you Nova them all down here. You can also lip if you have really bad gear out of the ice block to take 0 damage. But that's pretty much it. Now all the important mobs are dead and you can just AoE the casters down. They pretty much just give you mana. Normally I use this to craft food and rebuff and yeah, everything, since they're pretty much just free mana. Yeah, that's the way to do the entire dungeon in one pull. But again, if you're new to this, I really don't recommend doing it. I recommend splitting arms up into 2 pulls, because then you will take almost no damage, like the mobs won't even break through your shields. But I'll show this in a second, when I'm done with the cathedral. So you reset the dungeon, go into Cath again, and this is the easy way to do this without gear. You get full mana and HP before you start, and get your boosting group to enter the dungeon. Equip your PP trinket again, of course, very important. And here we want to open the gate by not being in combat. So what I like to do is kill the corridor here, while my group loot the rest of the mobs in arms. And yeah, you basically drink back to full HP while the group trade you gold, and yeah, it's really not a big time difference. With this method, you will still be able to do all 5 resets in like 50 minutes, even though you 2-pull everything. So yeah, pretty easy. Then you blink back, and you sit and eat while your group trade you gold. Normally it takes like the time it takes to get full mana and everything. So imagine me trading gold to people getting boosted here, basically. When people traded you the gold, you go in and now you're out of combat, so you can go straight in and open the cathedral door without being in combat. This is good because you have less mobs on you, and you can start the cathedral pull by like having full mana, full HP, brand new shields, and so forth. Now I'm an idiot and I pull them up. So just to showcase this, I'm gonna kill them up actually. So that we're not in combat when we start this pull. So get full health and mana. And if you're not trained in killing the mobs on the ledge down here, it's much easier not pulling the boss. Some people tend to start the pull by arcane exploding all the way around, but you lose a lot of HP and a lot of mana doing this, so I recommend just standing right here, pulling everything with rank 1 fireballs. So just stand here and I pull all the mobs furthest away with fireballs, counterspell this mob, and fire blast this pack here to get all the mobs in the cathedral. So I start fireballing everything down. You can like pre-target the mobs you wanna pull. And when you jump out here, you jump and Nova to get the extra range. Pulling the mobs here with an arcane explosion and blinking away from everything. Putting a frost ward on to get the extra resist. Just makes it harder for the frost balls to hit you, even though it doesn't really matter. Blink on the sides here. This is the important place to blink. And again, the mobs in the middle of the room here will get pulled by the mobs chasing you. So just pull everything and blink again on this side. Cut all the corners possible. Reapply your frost ward and your ice barrier. Because mana is not really a thing in Cath. Like you can use all your mana since you have this reset spot to evocate on. Since you're not really using evocate in arms anyways. There's not really time for it in arms. So now all the mobs are pulled without the boss and without the mobs in the rooms in the cathedral, so you have way less mobs here. You can cut this corridor here as well, but it's not really necessary. It's much safer just running an extra lab around to group the mobs up some more, and yeah, just to have extra time and not be hit by frostballs. Nova out of the block. Reapply your frost shields so your blizzard doesn't get countered, and start blizzarding down. So you just jump back and forth while applying your shields, blizzarding down. Here it doesn't matter that you turn this way since there's no mobs that will stun you. It is better to not get the mobs close to you since the defenders and the monks, they will interrupt your blizzard. And if you get interrupted on a blizzard, you're pretty much screwed since you can't Frost Nova and you can't Cone of Cold and you can't block. So it's really bad if you get interrupted on a Frost spell basically. But as you see here, without the boss, I'm almost like full HP. This was like way easier doing it this way. And you will almost never wipe if you path correctly. So I'm gonna show you how I do the same thing in arms by basically two-pulling the dungeon. Doesn't really take much more time. Really easy, and you don't need any gear to do this if you two-pull the dungeon. So running into arms, get your group with you. After they looted, you can drink up if you're like waiting on them. Get your frost berry up, your ice berry up, and get full HP and mana. So normally people will just kill these two mobs, but it really takes a lot of time killing these two mobs with like slow frost balls and everything. So instead, you can make it way easier for you this dungeon by just pulling the entire corridor here. So you just run in a square, pulling everything with rank 1 arcane explosion, and then nuking everything down. Pretty basic. Flame strike, cone of cold, and arcane explosion while kiting a little bit. This is like super easy. You don't need. You will never die doing this. Like you have way more HP than these mobs will do on you. So don't really worry about shielding or anything since these mobs aren't gonna kill you. I normally tell my group to loot after the entire dungeon is done, so I just like wait with the loot basically and get to the end of the run here. Again, you don't need your PvP trinket in this dungeon, so you just can swap it around and drink up while waiting for the patrols around here. Instead of running through the pack on the cannons there, you can also just blink through it. It goes much faster. So here, reapply your shields and get some mana before you start the pull. You always want full mana and both mana gems ready in this dungeon before you actually start the pull. And as you see, you didn't really use much extra time. You had to wait for your block anyways, and it's not really a big deal doing the corridor first, since you're gonna need the time for the block anyways. There's not really a time difference in doing this dungeon in a two-pull. So I really recommend people that are new to this or people that have bad gear to just two-pull it. There's really no reason not to. Here again, I Frost Nova just to make get the mobs off me. To take less damage, because you want the mobs to hit your mana shield as little as possible. Again, reapply Ice Barrier here, the latest point, and pull the rest of the dungeon. Counterspell the pack in the corner, pull this and go up. And now you have no mobs to worry about up here. Now you can use your mana gem, use your mage trinket or whatever you have, and get prepared by reshielding and getting ready to get out of luck. So here, to stack the mobs more, you can jump up, and the mobs will be more stacked under you. But again, you take more damage if your mobs is stacked closer. Walking out, you see a lot of mobs resisted. And here, if you have a strafe or two, you can either wait for them to run closer to your Nova, or just sheep them. It doesn't really matter what you do. Use a second Blizzard and get ready to blink in a 90-degree angle to stack them up. Arcane Explosion, jump for the Nova, and cast your Flame Strike. So here you see I have like full HP, full mana almost, and all the casters I kept alive to make sure that that I don't go during the pull. I see a lot of people killing the casters way too early, and it's really not necessary, since they will give you all the mana you need for if the fight is like extended. So this is the easy way to do arms. I hope you guys could use my way of doing it by double Frost Novaing the packs in arms, and by pathing correctly in Cath. You will never wipe. And as you see, my gear is really not that amazing. It's just basic intellect and stamina gear I got from dungeons and a few raid pieces, but you really don't need the epic gear at all. Just some intellect and stamina gear from the auction house or dungeons. I can also recommend doing some Plague Lands quests to get there's like a cloak and there's a wand and a finger to get you started with this boost. So yeah, hope you liked it, and ask in the comments if you have any questions about this.